Sublime from KatieDidDesign.com, and I'd like to share with you how to create a cinnamon log design today. To begin with, you're going to need some cinnamon sticks. Generally, you can find them in 10, 12, or 18-inch lengths, and it just depends on where you're getting them, how many you'll buy, but I generally work with a half to a pound, depending on the length. So we have 18-inch ones here, and I like to mix them, use a few 10s and some 18s, and that way you get some different lengths going when you put them together. You can create the log just like this with all the ends together exactly the same. It gives you a more symmetrical, formal look to it. Or you can take them like so and make the ends different lengths. And then you're going to take and you're going to bind these. And I'm using again about a 19 gauge wire. You'll want to set them on the table and just kind of see how it looks. Make sure all the ends are where you want them to be, that it looks kind of even on both sides. You have the same length, and then again you're going to bind them right in the middle. And I'm taking this wire around twice and pulling it back up on top. And then I like to take and kind of tap them like that, which will get a flat bottom on it so it rests easily on the surface without wanting to rock. Again, if your hands aren't strong enough, take your wire, your pliers, and twist that really tight and take the gaps out of that wire so that it's not loose. And then press that wire down so you don't get poked by it. Now you can see if you twist and turn these, they're going to get loose enough in there that they'll slide out. So we're going to have to pull this and bind it tighter again to take care of that. And then I always take a little bead of glue around the middle like so. And this will glue all those sticks together so that they don't start slipping and sliding eventually under there. Because this type of design, if you put it away carefully, it's going to last you for years. Then we'll finish this off with that glue by using a small piece of ribbon. And again, that's going to cover up your cinnamon where you've bound it there and glued together, and we can just leave that little piece of ribbon there as a streamer. Again, I've wired a ribbon off so it's on a wire, which makes it easy to add to the design versus tying it off with ribbon. Again, if you can't make a bow, you can simply take some streamers of ribbon and bind them in the center with your wire, and these will give you the same sort of effect that the bow does for holding your materials in place. So we're going to go ahead and add a little bit of glue to this. And again, that kind of dip and stick method where you can just stick it in place, and pan glue dries fairly rapidly, so you really don't generally have to hold anything in position for too long. When you work with a bow, that's always your focal area because it's tied together in the middle. This makes your center point of the design. Remember that that is the sun, and these are all the rays coming out from it, so all of your lines should point into the middle there. So we can now take some evergreens. We're here in Northern California, and I like evergreens year-round because they're just part of our forests and natural vegetation, so they don't seem to be more of a seasonal thing the way they are in some areas of the country where they're thought of more for Christmas time. But they make a great base. They have lots of body to them, so it's easy to stick them in position. And don't want to forget to put something right in the middle of the bow to create that center point of your design. Now once these are dry in there, you'll find you have all of this material to hold things in place when you start adding your other pieces of floral materials. I love to just kind of clean up the counter with these things. Whatever's lying around in the boxes, I gather up and use them in these. You're going to look for color or texture or both to bring some unity to the design. Just look for things that make kind of sense together. And we've just taken and added these in like so. It gives a nice solid form against the fussiness of your evergreens there. I've already cut these stems, but I just took a single stem of materials I pulled these white berries. I'm always looking to see what's going to be my inspiration for a design. And I wanted to do the cinnamon log, but then I picked out this little nest here, and that was sort of my inspiration for the design. Seems like I have a little bit of competition right now. There must be a helicopter going overhead. We're right on the path to the airport here where we're filming. And again, always bringing some of your materials into the center of the design so that you carry that color and line all the way through. At this point, I think it's time to add our bird's nest because it's fairly large and it's going to go right in the middle because that is definitely our focal point. So to start with, we're just going to put a fairly good size clump of glue on there so that it'll drip down into the bow and hold on very well. And that gives us a nice focal point for our design like so. And then we'll take these other materials that we have and quickly just glue these in, remembering that the nest has now become our sun and everything are the rays that are coming from it. You can make these as large or as small as you want. You can let the cinnamon logs become very secondary to the design, or you can let them be the most important part. I've taken this one small piece of the Dusty Miller from those large leaves, and this is going to make a nice little addition here to raise this up and give us a little bit more depth in the design, because when you create designs, you're building depth from the tabletop to the top this way, front to back, or from center to both sides. I've pulled a few little hydrangea heads that we can add. They're wonderful filler materials. They add texture and color. In this instance, I was really kind of working with a tone-on-tone look to the design with all the beautiful greens and whites. And to fill the design in, I've pulled these wonderful little pods. We've talked about these, the potpourri, using the different materials from potpourri in these because it adds fragrance and it also has lots of wonderful texture and color. I particularly like the Madison Gardens potpourri because it's so full of wonderful filler materials that you can use for these designs. You don't get a lot of wood shavings and that kind of thing. It's all great textural things that look super in these designs. And then to put these stems in, I've just picked some cute little poppies. You're going to want to take and put a little bit of a hairpin on them like that. That hairpin will prevent them from spinning around the way they would if you don't hairpin it. And we'll just tuck those in. I'm letting them stand up from the design so they have this wonderful crazy wild look to them. That's what's so neat about poppies, is that they can be sort of contorted and twisted and they don't mind, and they still look natural. One thing you don't want to do with silks is end up making them look unnatural by the positioning of them. That little girl back in place. Just a touch more hydrangea in here. And this design's almost ready to go. I always love to add little birds to it, and with the nest there, I thought these would be particularly cute. We can just dab a little glue on her. And they're always kind of fun to tuck on the outside ends of your cinnamon sticks like that. Thank you so much for joining us.